Hey there, it's Andy Sloan here from AndySloanFitness.com and the Healthier Dorset Initiative. And I wanted to take this opportunity to run you through the Gourmet Weight Loss event, which I hosted down here in Weymouth on February 5th this year, 2013. I wanted that to actually basically deliver you the seminar from the event because I think it's actually going to help quite a lot of people out. Okay, so we're looking at how to eat yourself fit, healthy, and lean. This is what we actually went through in the seminar today. These are the exact slides we went through, so I'll kind of try and keep it a little bit shorter than we actually did in the event, but basically make sure we give you all the good information that you need. So what we actually looked at is the basics of good nutrition. We looked at meal planning, where I give you the simplest strategy, which I found to help meal planning really, really simple and easy. We talk about how not to get bored. Talked a bit about eating out and eating clean. In the seminar, we actually did that section with the chef. Okay, so we actually spoke to him about that, and then talking about anything else that people wanted to know on the night as well. Obviously, you're not going to have the chance to ask me questions now, but if you want to get me on the Facebook, then you can find me. Just search Andy Sloan, and I'm sure we'll pop up somewhere, and you can ask me a question there. All right, so we won't worry about all this. As I said, we'll kind of just try and get into the meat of it. That's basically just talking a bit about who I am. As was that 2 whole pages, good stuff. Okay, cool. So rulebook again, don't have to worry about. Okay, cool. So the basics of good nutrition. So we'll kick things off right here. The basics of good nutrition, as I see it, is that you need to eat clean, you need to eat natural, and you need to eat well. If you do those 3 things, then you're pretty much going to be on song to have the body that you want, the energy levels that you want, and actually be looking and feeling pretty damn good. It obviously is a little bit more complex than that. As I see it, and what I found is the basics of good nutrition. It shouldn't involve counting calories, scoring points, weighing your food, getting bored with what you're eating, or feeling like you're on a diet. If you're doing all those things, then you're kind of missing a trick. Okay, and we're gonna be talking about that as we go through, of course. What it should involve is living in a body that you can love, okay? Feeling confident, feeling happy, feeling satisfied. Now that's satisfied with your nutritional program, of course, and obviously satisfied with how you're feeling and looking as well. Enjoying your food, okay? If you're on a diet or some sort of nutrition plan and you're not enjoying your food, then again, we're missing the boat there, okay? And that's something we need to kind of have a look at addressing. And it should also involve you being full of energy as well. If your nutritional programs are not leaving you full of energy, you're feeling lethargic and basically just lagging somewhat, then again, there's something there that we need to address. Okay, so what I'm going to talk you through is basically the strategy which I employ with my private clients and on my fitness camp, which actually enables me to offer the 200% money back guarantees, which I'm the only guy in the area to be able to offer. So as I said, I'll just talk you through what we do. Now, this isn't saying you have to do this. This is just telling you what I do right now with my clients, which works an absolute treat. And as I said, allows me to, basically predict and guarantee people that they're going to get a set result. So what we do for the first 2 to 4 weeks is actually we get rid of wheat, gluten, dairy, any added sugar, processed food, alcohol, and caffeine. Okay, so we remove all that stuff. We then try to restore the body through basically eating wholesome, natural, fresh, real food, so actual food, predominantly consisting of single ingredient stuff. Okay, if your diet, for instance, is consisting of foods which are predominantly made out of one ingredient, for example, a carrot, as a really basic one, then you're halfway there pretty much. We actually reinforce it as well with certain tweaks, tricks, and tactics, which I'm not really going to talk about today. But in a nutshell, there's certain supplements that we can recommend people take to help out with the fat loss and the health process, or the health improvement. Sorry, there are things we can do with carb timing, which I'll talk talk a little bit about today. And there's food combining as well. There's a pile of different things, but in a nutshell, if you're getting rid of all of the crap stuff, which we're removing first off, and eating plenty of the fresh stuff, then again you're going to be halfway there, which is awesome. Okay, so after we've actually done that initial phase, which kind of serves to detox the body, in so much as we're getting all the crap out of the system and enabling your body to actually start functioning much more optimally from the inside out. Okay, so once we've done that and things are ticking over a whole lot better inside, a lot of people will actually just carry on and will actually keep on eating like that because they love it and it makes them feel great. To be honest, 99% of my clients generally will do that for at least a month or so. Okay. Some people who maybe need to be a little bit less strict because either they want to be, or because their lifestyle kind of dictates that every now and again they're going to be out for a work lunch or whatever. We kind of drop down to like an 80-90% rule, which basically means that they'll stick to the nutrition kind of 80 to 90%, but then it gives them that 10 to 20% fluctuation. Where they can have something a little bit naughty. So if they need to have like a eating out for lunch or something, for instance, with work, then that's not a problem because they're kind of 80 to 90% clean the rest of the time. And then the other way we can do it, which is actually something I find works really well for people who perhaps want to be 80 to 90% good, but perhaps want a little bit of added structure in there because that's actually going to help them. It's actually the cheat system, whereby with that we actually eat completely clean, but we'll actually schedule in maybe like 1 or 2 cheat meals a week. For instance, on maybe like a Wednesday night, someone might be going around to their friend's house every week for dinner, or on like a Sunday afternoon, someone might want to go out for lunch for like a roast dinner or something like that. So we allow those 2 cheat meals in there, which can actually does a pile of cool things like hormonally, but obviously helps you to kind of gives you a little bit of the slightly naughtier stuff which you like as well. And as I said, in terms of like the hormones, without going into any science, it can actually help boost your fat loss overall, which is pretty cool. Okay, now the secret to long-term nutritional success, as I see it, is it needs to make you happy, feel confident, and look awesome. Okay, if your nutritional plan or how you're eating is doing all those things for you, then you're living a dream, and you're pretty much bang on the money. Okay, it needs to be filling you with energy as well. Okay, so obviously making sure that you are feeling good and actually got the energy to get up early, go to work, get everything done at work, come home, play with your kids or whatever, and if you're working out, to have the energy to work out as well. Okay, so it needs to fill you with energy. It wants to allow for balance as well. One of the misconceptions that people sometimes have about myself and my nutrition programs is that because we get rid of all the crap for the first couple of weeks, a lot of people think, oh, this guy's going to make you eat like a nutritional monk for the rest of your life. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's I won't swear, rubbish. But as I see it, a lifetime nutritional strategy it needs to allow some balance. Okay, so if you can go on and eat just completely healthy stuff and completely pure stuff your whole life, then that's awesome. But I'm no mug. In the modern world, we all like a bit of a treat, and there there's less than great things hitting at us from all different directions. Okay, so it needs to allow for balance. Okay. As I see it as well, and this is the one really to take away from here, is that lifestyle kicks dieting's ass. Okay, if you're on a diet, again, you're missing a trick. Okay, diets are short-lived, they're short-term, they're looked at as quick fixes. Okay, if you're on a diet, you're not on a lifestyle change. Okay, you're always going to be on that diet. If you're making lifestyle changes, then you're doing something for the longer term, for life. Okay, so as I said, if you're on a diet, sack it off and look at how you can actually improve your lifestyle as a whole and make eating right a part of that lifestyle. Okay. Now, as well, this is one that sometimes tweaks a couple of nerves, but not cooking, a pile of different meals every night. If you're cooking loads of different meals every night, maybe you're cooking one for your partner, one for your kids, and then one for yourself. Then again, you're kind of missing a trick there. Okay, so we'll talk a bit about that as we go through as well. All right, so what I want to talk to you about, and this bit will actually take a little bit of time, is actually a simple meal planning strategy. This is actually what I get my clients to do, what my fitness campers I get them to do, and it's a really, really simple way of actually making sure that you're actually going to be able to stick to a nutritional plan, and benefit from it basically. Okay, as I see it, planning is a real big key to success, so it's super important to get it done. Now, again, we're not talking science here. I'm literally just giving you use now information so you can take this stuff away and crack on with it as of now, as of tomorrow morning. Okay. So with your breakfast, we want to try and get your breakfast down about after 10 a.m. if at all possible. If you can't get it down, sorry, after 10 a.m. or immediately post workout, whichever comes first. So, for instance, if you're working out in the morning, say you finish training at 7:30, don't wait till 10 o'clock. Make sure you get your meal down sort of straight away within about half an hour after you finish training. If you're not working out, then try and get try and get your meal down around 10 o'clock or shortly after that. That'll actually, basically when you wake up in the morning, your body's actually in a state where it's able to burn more fat generally. So you want to kind of want to leave that ticking over for a little bit longer. Okay, in a nutshell, you want to go protein based. So things like fish, eggs, meat, quinoa, nuts and seeds are real good. So make sure you've got some proteins getting down in that first hit of the day. Vegetables as well. If you think eating veggies in the morning is weird, then you need to kind of have a look at that, because it's not weird. You've got to think about what people would have eaten kind of years ago before Kellogg's came onto the market, and it certainly wasn't Special K. So look at kind of vegetables, getting some down in the morning. You can stir fry them, steam them, boil them, grill them, whatever the hell you want to do with your veggies, just get them down. Green and leafy is really, really good, in particular if you're a woman and you're looking to lose fat off your legs and arse, then they're actually a really, really good thing to make sure you're getting a good portion down, sort of at least sort of 3 or 4 days a week. If you're not working out on a day, I'd probably opt to go lower carb, okay, for your breakfast on that day. If you're in a nutshell, and we'll talk about this on the next bit as well, but if you're not going to be training, so you're not going to be using up a bunch of energy, excuse me, you don't need to be adding in a whole pile of added carbohydrate. Your muscles and your liver have got stored carbohydrates in them, ready to ready to kind of fuel you through the day. So you fuel most of your activity. So you don't need to be carving up basically if you're not working out. Okay. On training days, you want to get some in, especially kind of post workout. So for instance, if you're working out in the morning, then after you finish training, I'd probably opt for something like white rice or quinoa, potato, sweet potato, bananas, watermelon's another good one. So something like that after you've worked out is a pretty good thing to get down as well. Okay, not having the same thing daily as well. So if you're eating poached eggs and spinach every morning for breakfast, then that's kind of good, but it's also kind of not so amazing as well. If all you're eating is poached eggs and spinach, then your body's only getting the nutrients from poached eggs and spinach in the mornings. Okay, your body actually needs a pile of different nutrients from a variety of different sources. So simplest thing to do is to really try and rotate your meats, rotate your vegetables, and just actually change your breakfast kind of on a day-to-day basis. And the next thing is it wants to be easy and fast to prep. So many people are really busy and rushed in the morning, so it's really, really important to find some foods that are actually gonna, you can actually make them within like maybe 5 minutes and actually get them down your neck and get off to work ready to have a great day, or even something that you can prep the night before and take it with you to work, or eat it on the way to work, something like that. Okay. So as an example, one of the easiest things I find for people to do when it comes to breakfast is to pick 3 or 4 breakfasts that tick all the right boxes, so all the things on that previous slide there, okay, and just rotate them. Okay, so I've put up just 5 examples there. What you want to do there is just pick like 3 breakfasts, as I said, that tick the right boxes. You have number 1 on a Monday, number 2 on a Wednesday, number 3 on a I'm skipping days, 1 on a Monday, 2 on a Tuesday, 3 on a Wednesday, and then go back to number 1 on a Thursday. Just rotating that. That way you kind of know what you're going to have on each day, and you can get it prepped and planned out, and it just makes it really, really easy. As I said, breakfast speed's one of the biggest things. Just making sure it's going to be actually something you can kind of get down pretty quick is pretty key. Okay, so that's breakfast, and now we'll just have a look at lunch. So for lunches, when it comes to timing, I just put lunchtime. So whenever lunchtime is for you, get it down at lunchtime. That's cool. Things like salads, leftovers, soup, and you can freestyle your breakfast, of course, as well if lifestyle dictates it. Things like that are great. The things that aren't going to take too long generally to make. Again, you want to make sure you're getting some sort of protein down there, some meat, fish, eggs, pulses, beans, things like that are great to get down with your lunches here. Veggies again. Try and make sure, excuse me. Oh, Christ, tired. Try and make sure that that you're getting a decent amount of veggies down. If you can get raw vegetables down a couple of times a day, then even better. So things like spinach and watercress and broccoli and carrot and stuff like that. Things that you can actually get down raw. Basically, when you cook anything, you're actually breaking it down, its nutrients. So, for instance, a bit of broccoli has got more nutritional value when it's raw than it has when you've cooked it. Okay, reheating food obviously is going to kill even more of the nutrients. For instance, so if you cooked some broccoli, for instance, one day and then reheated it, you've then killed off a pile more of the nutrients. So Moral of the story, the rawer the better when it comes to your veggies as well. Okay, if you're going high fat, you want to go low carb. Okay, so if you want to have a meal that's got like quite a lot of fat in there, for instance, something like salmon or avocado, then you want to go lower carb. Now, the reason for that is basically it's a whole lot better for losing fat. If when you're eating something that's like higher carbohydrate, your body actually wants to send out insulin to kind of make sure your blood sugar levels are all in check. Insulin's a storage hormone, so long story short, it can actually end up, if you've got an influx of high fat as well and the high carb, basically your fat can end up getting more fat can end up getting stored within your body, which obviously isn't what you want if you're trying to get lean. Similarly, if you go in high carb, obviously go lower fat. Again, like with the breakfast, try not to have the same thing every single day. So again, we're looking at kind of rotating your sources here. The next thing, of course, is it wants to be something you can take to work easily. That's if you work, of course. So living out of Tupperware boxes is pretty essential a lot of the time if you're trying to eat clean. So big thing to recommend is actually using those things. So filling up a box with food, take it in, and you got your lunch sorted. Okay, and again, we're talking about rotating foods there as well. Alright, so examples for lunches. Again, a really easy strategy is to each week, if you're trying to get lean, you have 2 days where you have salads, 2 days where you have like soup, a couple of days of leftovers, and then you can freestyle maybe one day on the weekend as well. And that is really easy. For instance, on a salad will take you like 5-10 minutes to prep the night before or in the morning if you've got time. Soups, you could just cook up a batch on the weekend, pour it into tubs and freeze them. With your leftovers, if you planned out your meals so much that you can, you know that on a Wednesday night, for instance, you need to cook too much because you're going to take some leftovers for Thursday lunch, then you can make sure you're going to be doing that. One of the things I want to do there as well is something that I've kind of had to employ because I just love eating, is to with your leftovers, is kind of serve them out and box them up and chuck them in the fridge like straight away, so you know it's not there. Because a lot of time, what might happen at your evening meal is you'll have like your first, you have like one plate full, and then maybe you'll go back and think, oh, that's nice, and you'll get another plate full down. So if you've boxed it up and already just chucked it in the fridge, sealed the lid, there's much less chance you're actually going to start tucking into that. Otherwise, you might well end up without any lunch and just an empty box, which would suck. Okay, cool. So that's leftovers, and then freestyle as well. So I said, you can freestyle on the weekend maybe. So that's pretty cool. What I put down there is pub as well. So that, like we talked about, the 80 to 90% clean or the cheat meals. You can factor that in for one of your lunches if you want to go out for a pub lunch or something like that. Okay, so for your dinner, dinner time, if you can get it down around sort of 6 or 7 o'clock, that's always good because you've got a bit more time for it to digest until you start actually lying down and really reducing your activity levels completely. So around 6 or 7 would be quite cool. Your lifestyle is going to dictate that quite a lot. So if you work shifts, for instance, or if you don't get home from work till quite late, then obviously that's going to kind of alter that. And you just got to do the best with what you got. Basically, is one of the key things there. Again, you want to get a decent sort of protein source down there. Okay, again, loading up on veggies is good. Make sure you're rotating those veggies on that note as well. So don't just have carrots and peas every single night, because again, you just get the nutrients from those, and we want to get a good variety of nutrients. Not so much for fat loss, but certainly for your health. Okay, so make sure you're getting a pile of different nutrients down every day. With carbs, again, try and kind of stick these to kind of training days or post workout. So if you're working out in the evening, then you might want to get a good bit of rice or some potatoes down after you finish training with your main meal. That's cool. But again, if you're not working out, then your body doesn't really need all that extra energy. So I'd probably go lower carb on a non-training day, for instance. Again, like we mentioned about earlier on, is if you're going high fat, go low carb. If you're going high carb, go low fat. Okay, so example there, very simple example, if for dinner you're having like salmon and avocado salad, don't chuck any rice on there. It's a really simple example. If you're having, if you want to get some like rice down, for instance, or some potatoes, don't load up on like something that you have to fry in oil, for instance. So go lower fat on that high carb meal. With desserts, if you're trying to get lean in particular, then just think, is it necessary? Is it going to help you reach your target? Chances are you don't need a dessert every single night. You know, most people, from my experience, don't have like a dessert every single night. But again, it's just something to think about. I mean, there's plenty of like more healthy desserts that you can have, but you know, generally they're going to be quite sugary anyway. So, you know, again, just think about it. Is it actually going to help you get closer to where you want to be? Chances are probably not. Now, I'm not saying stay away from dessert all the time, but just don't go nuts on them and don't have them too often. So, you know, if you want to get a dessert down, you know, once, twice a week, then go for it. But if you're trying to get lean, then certainly don't try and get them down every single day. And also, with your nutritional strategy for dinner, you know, it needs to be something that's going to fit in with your family. Okay, and what I've put there is who's the boss anyway. Now, when I was a little boy, many moons ago, maybe 4 years, yeah, when I was a little boy, I remember my mum, whatever she'd cook, we'd eat it. Okay, and mum and dad would eat the exact same thing. I don't know how, but things seem to have changed maybe, and it seems to be that, you know, a lot of mothers in particular are telling me, Andy, I have to cook like 4 meals a night. Um, Now, I'm sure that's like, you know, sometimes it's maybe necessary to an extent, but there's certainly things you can do to make sure that you're not actually having to cook loads of different meals every single night. For instance, as again a super easy example, if if you're having, like, say you want to have like a fish with you know, with your vegetables or whatever for your main meal, then you know, make your kids some fish fingers, and they can have the same kind of food with the same vegetables, and you know, super. I said there's a super easy example. You know, kids and husbands and wives, whoever you're cooking for, if they're maybe having something like pasta, for instance, then what you want to do there is you know, you can have the same thing again. It's a carbohydrate based thing, so if it's on a training day, then all the better. But what you can do there is actually maybe get like a rice based pasta, for instance, as opposed to a wheat based pasta. Whether you get your whole family in that, or just have it yourself, whatever. But again, you don't have to cook a whole different meal for three different people. Generally, is what I'm trying to get across there. And this is where your meal planning really comes in. So if you're looking at your meal planner at the start of the week, you can say, right, little Timmy won't eat this, so right, what can we give him instead of that? Or Mary's not going to have this because she can't, so what can we give her instead? You know, so just plan it out, and you should be able to find, you can make your life a whole lot easier. And if you're cooking for like your husband or your wife or significant other, then you know, unless they want to cook for themselves, then just make them eat what you're cooking. All right, cool. So things that you can consider for your dinners, which make your life real easy, are things like the slow cooker. I'll try and hit this a couple of times a week. So I'll literally prep everything the night before in 10 minutes. I'll chuck it in the slow cooker in the morning, bang it on. Then when my wife Kirsty gets home from dinner at like from work at like 5, she can just eat that when she wants. Hit it on warm, and then when I get home, it's there, it's cooked, it's ready for me to get down straight away as soon as I walk in the door. Super easy. It doesn't take any time. And so long as you're making up a big ass batch, you can, again, you've got your lunch sorted for the next day there again, so it just makes it really, really quick and really easy. 30-minute meals I put there as well, so you know, find new recipes and new meals and just things that you know you can make within like half an hour and just crack on with them. You know, if you've got a 30-minute curry, for instance, which you like, just, you know, get it down every week, or whatever, you know. Just find these little things that you can eat, or little recipes that you can eat which don't take a boatload of time, and again, make sure you've got the ingredients, which is where the planning comes in, and you should be on to a winner. um, when it comes to variety, so trying new recipes, if you were to try literally one new recipe every single week for every week of the year, then that's like 52 new recipes you've tried straight away without barely any effort whatsoever. Okay, so you know, literally out of those 52, you're going to find a pile of ones that you like. There'll be some ones that maybe you don't like, but you know, bottom line, try different things every week. Think outside the box, and kind of, you know, get stuck into some different new foods. Batch cooking and freezing as well is absolute winner. So on a weekend, for instance, every now and again, I'll like, if I know I've got a really busy week, I'll like to cook up a big ass batch of like curry or stew or something, chuck it into boxes, and then freeze it. Then if I know, for instance, on a Monday, which is a really busy day for me, all I'll do in the Monday is I will get a Tupperware box out of the freezer, stick it on the side to defrost. By the time I get home, it's there, ready for me to chuck it in the oven, and I can get it down. So it's really, really easy. So batch cook stuff and freeze it. just for when you're going to get caught short or you're really, really busy. Again, we've already spoken about leftovers, so cooking too much for tomorrow's lunch is a really easy strategy. Alright, so here's an example week of how your dinner time might look. And again, I've made it relatively simple there. So, like a slow cooked lamb casserole, baked cod fillets with veggies, or you can make fish fingers for kids. Easy fish finger recipe, or for the batter, or breadcrumbs, I guess it is literally I think about a cup of coconut flour, a cup of ground almonds, and then you just need like some egg to baste it. So literally just baste the fish with some egg, dip it in a coconut flour, dip it in the almonds, chuck it in the oven. There's some fish fingers for your kids, and those things are badass. And you can do that exact same thing for chicken Kievs as well, which I've popped down there, and it tastes absolutely lush. There's very few kids who are gonna taste the difference or care. And that's a great way to get a couple of favourites down there for sure. And I'm a big fan actually. Turkey curry, white rice, lentils, sweet potato dal, and then something from the freezer I've banned. Simple things which you can make it as complicated or as exotic as you want. But as long as we're ticking all the right boxes, then job done. If you've got more time, obviously you can maybe construct something a little bit more adventurous. But again, that's where it's just important to get things planned out. Alright, so when it comes to snacking, is it necessary to boost your metabolism? You've probably heard, and in fact I've told people in the past, that eating 6 meals a day is going to boost your metabolism. Eating 6 meals a day is not going to boost your metabolism to any merit, okay? It's not going to make barely any difference to your fat loss efforts, okay? Eating like maybe like your 6 meals a day is good in terms of helping you feel satisfied and your energy levels and stuff, but in terms of losing fat, it's really not going to be the thing that's going to elevate your metabolism, okay? You're much better off training right, to be honest there, okay? If you don't need to snack, don't snack, okay? If you can happily go from breakfast to lunch without eating anything else, then go for it. If you can go from lunch to dinner without eating anything else, then go for it. Excuse me. Other than that, there's bunch of tasty, healthy snacks you can eat. One of the things I like to tell people to do is, if you pick your favourite snack, your favourite food, like what cake or whatever, then check out the recipe, the ingredients, and see how you can make it fit in with your nutritional strategy, okay? It might be something as simple as sacking off normal flour and using like a rice flour instead, for instance, okay? So, again, think outside the box and find things that are going to tick all the right boxes and make you feel great, okay? Is one of the things to look at there. You want to go low sugar with your snacks as well. So this is where like things like raw veggies are real good, and something like hummus is a good thing to get down as well. You've got a bit of proteins in there and some healthy fats, which is pretty cool. If you're going to have a higher sugar snacks or something, maybe with like dry fruit in it, for instance, then stick that to in and around training only, when your body's actually going to kind of want to use those sugars, as opposed to it just elevating your blood sugar levels and causing all sorts of love-handle problems. Okay, again, we spoke about raw veggies. Things like proteins are good. Get some healthy fats down. Again, batch cooking's really good. One of the tactics I like to do, because there's a couple of cake recipes which I really like, and I've got a hellishly sweet tooth. If I was, for instance, to bake one of my banana loaves, okay, there's a good chance I would eat the whole thing within like a day, maybe 2 days. So one of the things I'll do is to bake it, slice it, and then freeze it in its slices. And then when I want to take it to work, I'll literally take a slice out or a chunk or whatever, take it to work. By the time it's defrosted, it's snack time. I can get it down, and it's like, right, that's gone. There's no chance I'm going to end up going and having to try and defrost another one. So something like that's a really good thing to do, particularly if you're someone who thinks you're actually going to really keep going back for more. Frozen fruits are really good as well. So fruit's a great thing and it's healthy, but it's not healthy if you're eating like loads of it, because it's basically sugar. So one thing you can do is actually freeze fruit, which I find is really good. Frozen blueberries are really good. They're one of my favourites. So for instance, you can just bang your punnet of blueberries in the freezer. And then you can snack on those, when you get home or after dinner or whatever. What you'll find is, because they become a bit of a pain in the arse to eat, you'll probably eat like less than you would do normally, and you actually eat them slower as well, which means you're going to be a bit better at monitoring how full you're feeling. So that's pretty cool. Frozen bananas are really good as well. It's one of my favourites. They're kind of like a lollipop, really. Literally peel a banana. I'll generally leave like a little bit of peel on there. bang it in the freezer so it sits on that bit of peel. You know, take it out when it's frozen. Maybe leave it to thaw for like 5 minutes, and then you've got this lush frozen banana, really tasty. Especially nice with like a bit of like almond butter or peanut butter on it. That's actually a really good little snack. The other things like grapes as well, they're a nice one to freeze. If I was to pick up a punnet of grapes and sit it on my lap while I'm driving home, and then, you know, good chance the whole thing will be gone by the time we get home. If, however, I chuck some grapes in the freezer, then I'm not going to go through half as many. And on the subject of fruit as well, something like cherries is really good because, again, it's a pain in the ass to eat them because they've got stones in them, as well as the fact they're quite low sugar. So something like cherries is really good because, again, you're going to eat much less of them. Alright, so here's a really simple meal plan, and now there's nothing complex about this. It's literally just got all the days down the left hand side: breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, drinks. Okay, again, if you don't need snacks, then you don't need to put snacks in there, but you know, if you print that off, or something similar, write everything in there, chuck it on your fridge. You can get your shopping done for the week, or even if you need to go shopping on like Wednesday or Thursday as well, you can top the stores up, and then, you know, you can basically stick to it. If you've got a meal plan like that, if you're not currently planning your meals, okay, but then you did a meal plan and followed something like this, if you stuck to it like 80%, you're going to be a whole lot better off than you are right now. Okay, it's a simple thing. So get your meals planned and stick to it best you can. Okay, so looking at how not to get bored. Now, these are really simple, this one. Don't eat the same thing twice if possible. Other than, of course, leftovers, which, you know, it just makes your life really easy to have, like, dinner one night as lunch the next day, so that's pretty easy. But yeah, try not to eat the same meal twice. And even with your leftovers, you can at least rotate, like, the vegetables or what you have it on the side of or with. So that's something to kind of bear in mind there as well. So try and vary your food. Think outside the box with it. Again, like I was saying, you know, pick a favourite recipe and look how you can make it fit within your nutritional strategy, and you'll find you can still eat a whole lot of, nutritious, tasty foods that actually maybe taste a little bit naughty without actually kind of breaking the code, so to speak. All right. So again, we just spoke about that one there. Again, rotating your meats, rotating your veggies, rotating your fruits, your carb choices. Just mix things up a bit. People so often get stuck eating the exact same thing at the exact same time every single day. And it's just dull, as well as obviously limiting the nutrients which your body's actually getting inside it. Okay, I've already said about planning, so just make sure you get that done. Trying new recipes every week as well. And then what I'll bang down the bottom there as well is just something which one of the guys in my January Jeans program, I think, piped up about a while ago, which is doing like a come dine with me. You know, you could, you know, maybe once a week or once a month with your friends, you could, you know, you could get them round and you know, just cook for them, or, you know, get them to return the favour and stuff, and, you know, and just try different things. Everyone's got different tastes and different things are good at cooking. So if if you've got a friend who's on board as well, get them stuck into the same sort of thing, and, you know, mix things up. So look, hopefully that'll actually help you out. I'm pretty sure that should be, yeah, that's just about all we needed to kind of go through with the seminar there. So hopefully that'll be of use to you and help you out a bit. As I said, if you've got some questions, then obviously you can't get me on the YouTube, but if you find me on Facebook, just search Andy Sloan. You can by all means send me a message, or pop something on the wall there as well. Hopefully that's helped you out, and I shall look forward to catching up with you soon. Bye bye.